this video, we'll study the topics induction heating, high frequency eddy current heating, and dielectric heating. Induction heating. Let us consider a piece of metal which forms the core of the coil as shown in the figure, and AC supply is applied to it. So when alternating voltage is applied to the coil, there will be alternating flux set up, and there will be eddy currents flowing in the metal which is equal to the rate of change of flux. And the direction of the flux, it is along the axis of the coil. There will be an induced voltage in the core due to the rate of change of flux. This is at right angle to the direction of the flux. And the heating or the production of heat is due to the power loss due to the eddy currents. Also, there will be hysteresis loss in case of magnetic materials, but this will be ignored. The different types of induction furnaces we have. One is core type induction furnace. So this looks like a transformer. So as shown in the figure, we have the primary winding which is connected to the supply, and we have the secondary winding which is nothing but the metal to be melted, that is the charge, which is placed in the trough. This charge acts as the secondary winding and it is of 1 turn. And the current in the charge is of high order, that is several thousand amperes. Also, there will be electromagnetic forces set up by the high order current in the molten metal. In this furnace, there is pinch effect developed because of the attraction produced between the adjacent particles in which the current flows in the same direction. This pinch effect, it depends upon the frequency and the power consumed. So these furnaces, they are operated at low frequencies around 25 Hz. There are few drawbacks in this furnace. They are the leakage reactance is high, and also the power factor is low due to poor magnetic coupling. Low frequencies have to be employed because the normal frequency causes turbulence in the charge. This requires a motor generator set or frequency converter. The crucible for the charge, it is of odd shape and it is not convenient from the metallurgical point of view. The furnace, it cannot function if the secondary circuit is not closed. So this will require a complete ring of the charge around the core. So in order to close the secondary circuit, an iron ring may be placed in the crucible, or the lining should be made of graphite. Also, to start the furnace, either molten metal should be poured into the crucible, or sufficient molten metal should be allowed to remain in the crucible from the previous operation. Next type of induction furnace is vertical core type induction furnace. This is also called as Ajax-Watt furnace. So the figure shows the vertical core type furnace. The vertical core type furnace overcomes the drawbacks of the core type furnace. This furnace makes use of vertical crucible instead of horizontal crucible for the charge. The circulation of the molten metal, it is kept around the V channel by the convection currents. This V channel, it is narrow such that small quantity of charge keeps the secondary circuit closed. The power factor of this furnace is comparatively high. The output of the furnace, it depends upon the form and dimension of the channel. Apart from the V-shaped channel, we can have U-shaped and rectangular channels employed. The type of lining, it depends upon the type of charge. The shell of the furnace, it is made up of heavy steel, and we have the top closed by the insulator cover, which can be removed for the charging purpose. Also, tilting of the furnace to pour out the metal, it is done by hydraulic means. Next type of induction furnace is coreless type furnace. Figure shows the coreless type furnace. Here the flux set up by the primary winding, it produces eddy currents in the charge, and the heating effect due to the eddy currents melts the charge. Stirring action takes place due to the electromagnetic forces. The frequencies at which the furnace is operated results in the skin effect in the primary winding coils, which produces heat. So the coils are made hollow so that water is circulated for cooling purpose. The frequency used in coreless induction furnaces has decreased over the years. So in early 20s, these furnaces were operated at frequencies ranging from 1000 to 3000 Hz, and nowadays the furnaces are worked at the frequencies 500 to 600 Hz. Also, the maximum power will increase with frequency So there is an optimum frequency which can be used. The frequency, it also depends upon the movement of the molten metal in the crucible. The force acting on the bath, it is inversely proportional to the square root of the frequency. Therefore, the bath will be agitated less at higher frequencies than at lower frequencies. High frequency power supply, it can be obtained from a motor generator set with a salient pole alternator up to 1000 Hz. For the frequencies up to 10,000 Hz, inductor alternator can be used. Valve oscillator can be used for frequencies up to 1 million Hz, at which small furnaces will be used to melt rare metals. The operating voltage varies from 1000 to 2000 volts for the large size furnaces and up to 10,000 volts for small size furnaces. The major field of application of coreless type induction furnace is in the production of steel. So it is used for the production of highest grade alloy steels since there is no contamination of the product by impurities. The initial cost, it is high, almost 3 to 4 times than any other type of furnace. So it is economical for the size up to 4 to 5 tons. The power factor of the furnace, it is very low. So static capacitors are used to improve the power factor. The high frequency power supply for the coreless furnace, it can be obtained from transformers, mercury arc converters, motor generators, spark gap converters, vacuum tube converters. So transformers, they can change the frequency only in the ratio 1:3 and the transformation is inefficient. So this method is not practically used. Whereas mercury arc converters, they give outputs up to 12 Hz and capacity of 2500 kilowatt is used. The motor generator set, it will use a salient pole alternator or an inductor alternator, and the spark gap converters, they can generate frequencies up to 500 kilohertz, but the capacity is limited to 40 kilowatt. The vacuum tube converters, they go up to 200 megahertz. So an individual tube can give an output of 25 kilowatt at 50 megahertz. High frequency eddy current heating. In high frequency eddy current, the phenomenon of skin effect plays a major role. Skin effect, it is the tendency of the induced heating currents to concentrate near the surface of the conductor through which the flux is set up. This effect is predominant at high frequencies. Using the Bessel function, the depth of penetration can be known. The equation is D equal to 1 by 2 pi square root of 10 to the power 9 by mu r sigma f, where D is the depth of penetration in centimeter, mu r is the relative permeability of the material, sigma is the conductivity in mho per centimeter cube, f is the frequency in cycles per second. Therefore, it is possible to restrict the heat produced by induction with the proper choice of frequency. Some of the important features of high frequency eddy current heating are: the heat is generated near the surface of the material piece. Heat is produced at a high rate, that is more than 5 kilowatt per square centimeter of the surface. The area of the surface over which the heat is produced can be controlled accurately. Also, the amount of heat produced can be controlled accurately by use of suitable timing devices. Heat can be produced in vacuum or any other type of atmosphere of inert gas. The temperature control is easy. Unskilled labor can also operate the equipment. However, from economic point of view, the generation of heat is costly, efficiency of the equipment is less than 50%, and the initial cost of the equipment is also high. Applications. Few industrial applications of high frequency eddy current heating are surface hardening of steel. In this process, piece of steel is put in a carbonaceous material for many hours at temperature which gives red heat. In case of case hardening done by ordinary methods, the heat treatment of the inner metal will be disturbed, which will produce scales on the surface and also wraps the long piece of metal. All these are avoided in induction hardening. Next application is annealing of metals. Annealing of metals like bronze, brass is another important industrial application. Brass or bronze, when cold worked, they become brittle, and if they are worked further, they break. Therefore, they have to be annealed. But the ordinary annealing process takes a long time. By use of induction heating method, in a minute at a temperature of the order of 750 degrees Celsius, a depth of about 2.5 centimeter can be reached. Scale formation also is not possible at such a short span of time. Next application, soldering. Soldering at high temperatures or brazing where silver, copper or their alloys are used as solders is another important industrial application. Two pieces of metal, iron or steel or other metal, they are fitted properly and suitable flux will be applied to the joint and the soldering alloy will be placed near the joint. The use of induction heating will develop heat rapidly, melting the solder which will run into the joint and seal it properly. Other miscellaneous applications are welding, drying of paints, forging of bolt heads and rivet heads, melting of costly metals, and sterilization of surgical instruments. High frequency power supply sources. High frequency eddy current heating is required in large number of applications at a frequency of about 450 kHz. Smaller objects like wires, they use higher frequency of the order of 30 MHz. To generate such frequencies, electronic generators are employed. These are usually Class C oscillators. A typical circuit based on Colpitt's oscillator is shown in the figure. The transformer, it raises the voltage to about 10 kV, which will be rectified by the bridge rectifier circuit. The heater or the work coil, it is designed to resonate with the capacitors at the required frequency. But the induction heaters, they work under very difficult and severe conditions. This requires certain basic design features which has to be incorporated in the equipment. They are all the protective devices should be designed for heavy duty service since the heater has to work under widely varying load and sometimes even under short circuit conditions. The clearance for high voltage is longer from the safety point of view. Other components, they should be made robust as much as possible. All controls are made for heavy duty and the equipment should be able to withstand the movement from one place to another in the shop. Sometimes we can also use spark gap oscillators to produce the high frequencies. Dielectric heating. Dielectric heating, it is called as high frequency capacitance heating. It is employed for heating non-metals like wood, plastics, etc. As shown in the figure, the material to be heated is placed between two electrodes, which may be two parallel plates, across which high frequency AC supply is applied. The frequency employed is between 10 to 30 MHz and the voltage is up to 20 kV. The main advantage of this method is that heating takes place in the material itself. The use of dielectric heating in plastics is to heat the blocks of raw plastic. The time compared is greatly reduced in comparison with heating in ovens. Dielectric heating, it is used for wood, for drying and gluing. Other applications are in drying of rayon cakes, in textile manufacture, dehydration of foods, gluing of laminated glass, rubber vulcanizing, drying of explosives, drying of foundry cores, etc. The principle of dielectric heating. When a capacitor is subjected to sinusoidal voltage, the current drawn by it, it is not leading the voltage by exactly 90 degree. This is because there is a small in-phase component of current which produces power loss in the dielectric of the capacitor. At ordinary frequency of around 50 Hz, this loss may be small enough to be negligible. But at high frequencies, this loss becomes large enough to heat the dielectric. This loss is being used in heating the dielectric. Electrical problems in dielectric heating. The power P is given by P equal to V square by R. R is written in the form of impedance of capacitor. So P equal to V square by Xc tan phi, and Xc is 1 by omega C. So P equal to V square omega C by tan phi, where omega is 2 pi f. Therefore P is 2 pi f C V square by tan phi. So power is proportional to frequency and the square of the voltage. But power factor and dielectric constant, they also change with frequency. But since they are inherent to the material, only frequency and voltage control is possible. For a particular frequency, power can be increased by increasing the voltage, but there is limit to this since it depends upon the dielectric strength of the material and also safety consideration. The main factor which governs the choice of voltage is the dielectric strength of the material. Thick dielectrics, they can withstand high voltage, whereas thin dielectrics, they can withstand power voltages. Also, there is corona formation which might take place at high voltages. Therefore, it is desirable not to go beyond 20 kilovolts of voltage. Also, the choice of frequency has certain limits. The charge, it forms a resonant circuit with the inductance of the oscillator, and the impedance of this resonant circuit will decrease with the increase in frequency. For maximum power output from the oscillator, the impedance has to match with the impedance of the load circuit. This will require special matching circuits at higher frequencies. Applications of dielectric heating. Dielectric heating is used in the following applications: heating of raw plastics, gluing of wood, electronic sieving, in food processing for pasteurizing milk and beer inside bottles, cooking food without removing the outer shells, dehydrating fruits, vegetables, eggs, etc., defrosting frozen foods in large bakeries and restaurants, disinfestation of cereals and grains. In textile industry, dielectric heating is used for the drying purpose. Thank you.